The black limousine pulled up to the vineyard wedding just as Carter was about to kiss his bride. But the woman stepping out in gold wasn't there to stop the ceremony. She was there to steal the show with three beautiful children who looked exactly like the groom. Have you ever been replaced by your best friend? What would you do if your ex thought he'd upgraded? Stay tuned to see how Simone turned betrayal into triumph. Where are you watching from? Comment below. The Georgia vineyard buzzed with whispers as guests turned their heads toward the sleek vehicle. Carter Manning, Atlanta's hottest fintech CEO, froze at the altar. His bride Alana, once Simone's maid of honor, went pale beneath her veil. Out stepped Simone Jackson in a custom golden dress that hugged every curve of her post-pregnancy body. The fabric caught the afternoon sun like liquid metal, commanding attention from every man present. Behind her emerged three toddlers in matching cream suits. Their dark eyes and strong jawlines mirror images of the man standing frozen at the altar. "Mama, is that Daddy?" Little Carter Jr. asked loudly, pointing directly at the groom. The collective gasp from 200 wedding guests could have powered the entire venue. Simone's smile never wavered as she gracefully lifted her son onto her hip. The other two boys, Marcus Jr. and Matthew, clutched her dress while scanning the crowd with curious eyes. Every step she took toward the ceremony seating area commanded respect. Her confidence radiated power that money couldn't buy. The golden dress showcased her transformation from the exhausted nurse Carter had discarded 3 years ago. Her skin glowed with health and wealth. Diamond earrings caught the light as she moved, and her natural hair fell in perfect waves past her shoulders. This wasn't the broken woman who had packed her scrubs and left their Atlanta penthouse in tears. Carter's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Alana gripped her bouquet so tightly that rose petals scattered at her feet. The minister cleared his throat nervously, unsure whether to continue. "Please, don't let us interrupt," Simone called out sweetly, settling into a front row seat that someone quickly vacated. "We're just here to witness this beautiful moment." The triplets waved at Carter with innocent excitement. Their matching outfits, clearly expensive, made them look like little princes, which in Monaco society circles they essentially were. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as guests recognized the children's unmistakable resemblance to the groom. Carter's own mother squinted from her seat, her face showing growing confusion and recognition. Behind Simone stood a tall, distinguished man in an Italian suit. Marcus Reed, Carter's former board member, placed a protective hand on her shoulder. The massive diamond on Simone's left hand caught the light as she adjusted little Matthew's bow tie. As the minister asked if anyone objects, Simone stood up. But what she said next wasn't an objection. It was an announcement that would change everything. Comment below. Would you crash your ex's wedding or stay home? Let me know when we go back to where this all began. 3 months earlier, Simone thought she was living the dream. 10 years of marriage, a thriving husband, and plans for their second child. She had no idea her best friend was already planning to take her place. The perfect marriage is often the most fragile. Have you ever trusted someone completely? Simone was about to learn that trust can be deadly. Watch how quickly a decade of love can crumble. The alarm buzzed at 5:30 a.m. in their downtown Atlanta penthouse. Simone's hand reached across Egyptian cotton sheets to find Carter's warm body still sleeping peacefully. Her fingers traced the muscles of his back. The same back she'd massaged after countless 18-hour days building his company from nothing. She slipped from bed without waking him, just like she had every morning for 3 years. Her nursing shifts at Grady Hospital started at 7 a.m., but Carter needed his rest. His fintech startup was finally gaining investors, and exhaustion showed in the dark circles under his eyes. In their marble bathroom, Simone caught a reflection. 32 years old, still beautiful despite the stress lines forming around her eyes. Her body maintained its curves even with irregular eating from working double shifts. Carter used to trace those same curves with hungry hands, whispering how lucky he was to have her. She pulled on scrubs and grabbed coffee, leaving a note on his nightstand. "Proud of you always. Can't wait to celebrate your big presentation tonight. Love S." The fertility clinic appointment confirmation sat on their kitchen counter, their third round of IVF treatments. The frozen embryos from their successful cycle 2 years ago waited in storage. Just in case, the doctor had said. Just in case they wanted more children after Carter's business stabilized. At the hospital, Simone's phone buzzed constantly. Alana's texts came every few hours, usually asking about Carter's schedule or dropping by their apartment when Simone worked nights. "Girl, you're so lucky," Alana would say, her fingers lingering too long on Carter's shoulder during dinner parties. "He's going places." Simone never noticed how Alana's eyes followed Carter across rooms, or how she always found excuses to visit when Simone worked late shifts. Best friends since college, Alana had been Simone's maid of honor, their son CJ's godmother, the sister she never had. That evening, Simone rushed home with Carter's favorite Thai food, planning to surprise him after his major investor presentation. The apartment glowed with candles she'd arranged that morning. Their wedding photos smiled from the mantelpiece, 10 years of building dreams together. Her phone buzzed with a text from Carter, "Meeting running late." "Don't wait up." She ate alone, scrolling through Alana's Instagram stories. Her best friend was at some downtown restaurant, posting photos of expensive wine and laughing with someone whose face stayed carefully out of frame. At midnight, Carter stumbled in smelling like whiskey and expensive perfume. Not her perfume. "How did the presentation go?" Simone asked sleepily. "Fine," he mumbled, avoiding her eyes as he headed straight for the shower. That night, as Simone planned a celebration dinner for Carter's biggest deal yet, he was 3 blocks away at the Ritz-Carlton with Alana, making plans that would destroy everything Simone believed in. Drop a broken heart. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely, this story is about to get much more intense. When someone you love for 10 years looks you in the eye and says, "I need someone who fits my lifestyle now," it doesn't just break your heart, it shatters your entire reality. The cruelest breakups happen without warning. Have you ever been discarded like yesterday's trash? Carter was about to deliver the most heartless dismissal imaginable. Could you survive what he's about to put her through? The conversation happened on a Tuesday. Simone would remember that forever. How Tuesday became the day her life split into before and after. She just finished a brutal 12-hour shift in the ICU, saving lives while Carter closed his biggest deal. Her scrubs still smelled like disinfectant when she found him sitting on their bed, already showered and dressed in the designer suit she'd bought him for Christmas. "We need to talk," he said without looking up from his phone. Those 4 words turned her blood cold. In 10 years together, Carter had never started conversations like that. Her nursing bag dropped to the floor as she searched his face for clues. "Simone, this isn't working anymore." The words hit like a physical blow. She actually stepped backward, gripping the doorframe for support. "What isn't working? The marriage? Us?" Her voice cracked on the last word. Carter finally looked at her, and the coldness in his eyes was worse than anger. It was indifference. Complete, devastating indifference. "I need someone who fits my lifestyle now. Someone who understands the world I'm moving into." Simone's mind raced through 10 years of memories. Late nights, studying while she worked to pay their rent. Networking events where she'd smiled through conversations about investments she'd never understand because she was too busy working to support his dreams. The fertility treatments she'd endured alone because he was always traveling for business. "Carter, I built this lifestyle with you. I worked 60-hour weeks so you could focus on the company. I gave up nursing school. I gave up. I know what you gave up," he interrupted coldly, "and I appreciate everything you've done. But that chapter is over." Her hands shook as she reached for him desperately. "Baby, whatever's wrong, we can fix it. 10 years, Carter. We have a son together. We have embryos waiting." He pulled away from her touch like she was contagious. "I've already moved my things out. The lease is in my name, so you need to find somewhere else by Friday." "Friday?" The word came out as a whisper. "Carter, where am I supposed to go?" "This is our home. Figure out, Simone. You're smart. You'll land on your feet." He stood up, straightening his tie like he was leaving for a business meeting instead of destroying a decade of love. At the bedroom door, he paused without turning around. I'll have my lawyer contact you about custody arrangements for CJ. As Simone packed her nursing scrubs, she found a pregnancy test in her purse. Positive. But before she could process the implications, her phone buzzed with a notification that would make her blood freeze. What would you do if someone threw away 10 years like it meant nothing? Comment your thoughts while we see what broke Simone's heart even more. Finding out your husband left you is devastating. Finding out he left you for your maid of honor, your son's godmother, is the kind of betrayal that changes your DNA. Some betrayals cut deeper than others. Has your best friend ever stabbed you in the back? Alana had been planning this for months. How far would you go for revenge? The Instagram notification glowed on Simone's phone screen. Alana Johnson is now in a relationship with Carter Manning. Her entire body went numb. The pregnancy test slipped from her fingers, clattering onto the bathroom tile. She stared at the screen until the words blurred through her tears. One click took her to Alana's profile. The first photo showed Carter's hands around Alana's waist at some fancy restaurant. The timestamp read 3 weeks ago, while Simone was working double shifts to help pay for Carter's business expansion. She scrolled with trembling fingers. More photos appeared, showing a relationship that had clearly been building for months. Carter feeding Alana dessert at the same restaurant where he'd proposed to Simone 8 years ago. Alana, wearing the tennis bracelet Simone thought Carter had bought for their anniversary, but never received. The comments section made her stomach turn. Finally, you two are perfect together. I always knew you'd end up together. Power couple goals. Her own family members, people who'd known about Carter's betrayal, had liked the photos. Her cousin posted heart emojis. Her college friends commented congratulations. Everyone had known except her. The worst photo showed Alana wearing a diamond ring. Not just any ring, but the exact design Simone had sketched during their engagement 10 years ago. She'd drawn it on a napkin at Waffle House when they were broke students, dreaming of a future where Carter could afford something that beautiful. He'd recreated her dream ring for another woman. Her phone rang. Alana's name flashed on the screen. Simone, honey, I wanted you to hear this from me. Get away from my husband. The words came out in a growl Simone didn't recognize as her own voice. Ex-husband, Alana corrected gently. And we didn't plan for this to happen. It just did. The heart wants what it wants. You were my wedding. You held my son when he was born. You sat in my kitchen last month asking if I was okay while you were sleeping with my husband. I know how this looks. You know how this looks? You destroyed my family while pretending to be my sister. The line went quiet for a moment. When Alana spoke again, her voice had lost all pretense of sympathy. Simone, Carter needs someone who can keep up with him now. Someone who understands his world. You should have seen this coming. That night, Simone made 2 phone calls that would change everything. One to a fertility clinic about those frozen embryos, and another to Carter's biggest business rival. Type betrayed if you think Alana planned this from the beginning. Let me know while we watch Simone plan her comeback. The most powerful revenge isn't loud, it's silent. While Carter and Alana celebrated their engagement, Simone was quietly disappearing, taking with her the 3 most precious things Carter would never see coming. Strategic silence is more powerful than screaming. Have you ever disappeared to reinvent yourself? Simone was about to become someone Carter never knew existed. What would you take from someone who took everything from you? The fertility clinic's fluorescent lighting felt cold against Simone's skin as she sat across from Dr. Patricia Chun, the same doctor who'd guided her and Carter through 3 years of treatments. Mrs. Manning, I understand you want to discuss the embryos you and your husband store with us? Ex-husband, Simone corrected firmly. And yes, I need to understand my legal options. Dr. Chin pulled up their file on her computer. You have 7 viable embryos in storage. The agreement you both signed states that in case of separation, either party can claim the embryos if the other abandons the relationship. Simone's heart pounded. Abandons? Your husband hasn't responded to our storage fee notices in 4 months. Legally, that constitutes abandonment of his parental claims. The next week blurred together like a dream. Legal papers filed in record time. A new apartment lease signed in her maiden name, Simone Jackson. Resignation letters submitted to Grady Hospital with a forwarding address in Miami. She'd researched Carter's business rivals carefully. James Morrison, CEO of competing fintech firm TechVantage, had been trying to poach Carter's clients for 2 years. His Miami headquarters offered the perfect fresh start. Ms. Jackson, Morrison's voice crackled through the phone. I understand you have insider knowledge of Manning Financial's operations? I have 10 years of insider knowledge, Simone replied, and I'm ready to put it to work. The IVF procedure took place in a private Miami clinic. Dr. Rodriguez's gentle hands performed the embryo transfer while Simone stared at the ultrasound screen, watching Carter's genetic legacy settle into her body. How many embryos did you transfer? She asked. 3. Your hormone levels suggest excellent conditions for implantation. 3 weeks later, the pregnancy test showed 2 bold lines. The ultrasound appointment 2 weeks after that revealed her wildest dreams. 3 heartbeats, 3 perfect babies growing inside her. Carter's triplets. During her second trimester, she met Marcus Reed at a TechVantage networking event. Carter's former board member had left Manning Financial after disagreeing with Carter's new direction, specifically his unprofessional relationship with employees' wives. Simone Jackson, she introduced herself, her hand resting on her growing belly. Marcus's eyes widened with recognition, then understanding. You're Simone Manning. Not anymore, she smiled. I'm building something completely new. Their first date was a business dinner discussing her wellness company launch. Marcus had contacts throughout Miami's investment community, and her natural skincare line concept impressed him immediately. You're not just starting over, he said, reaching across the table to touch her hand. You're starting better. As Simone's belly grew with Carter's triplets, Marcus presented her with a business proposal that would make her richer than Carter ever was, and a personal proposal that would make her happier than she'd ever been. React with fire if you think using his own embryos was genius-level payback. The transformation is just beginning. They say pregnancy glows, but power glows brighter. As Simone built her wellness empire in Miami, she wasn't just carrying Carter's children, she was carrying his future destruction. Success is the sweetest revenge. Have you ever reinvented yourself completely? Simone was building something Carter could never touch. Could you build an empire while pregnant with triplets? The Miami penthouse overlooked Biscayne Bay, its floor-to-ceiling windows flooding the space with golden light. At 6 months pregnant, Simone's body had transformed into something even more beautiful than before. Her skin radiated health, her curves were fuller, and her confidence commanded every room she entered. Golden Goddess Skincare, she announced to the room full of investors, her hands resting on her rounded belly. Natural beauty products inspired by the golden hour of motherhood. The 12 venture capitalists leaned forward, mesmerized not just by her business plan, but by her presence. Marcus sat at the far end of the conference table, his proud smile beaming as she dominated the presentation. We're projecting $2 million in first-year revenue, Simone continued, clicking to her next slide, with expansion into wellness retreats and online coaching by year 3. An older investor raised his hand. Ms. Jackson, what makes you qualified to lead a wellness empire? Simone's smile was radiant. I spent 10 years building someone else's dream while sacrificing my own health and happiness. Now I'm building something that helps women reclaim both. The room erupted in applause. After the meeting, Marcus found her on the balcony, watching the sunset paint the bay golden. $3 million in funding, he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind, his hands covering hers on her belly. You're incredible. We're incredible, she corrected, leaning back against his chest. His lips found a sensitive spot on her neck that always made her knees weak. The pregnancy photo shoot happened the next week. Professional lighting captured every angle of her glowing form in flowing golden fabrics. Marcus joined for several shots, his hands protective on her belly, their chemistry undeniable. These will be perfect for the company launch, the photographer said, showing them the preview images. You look like a goddess. Simone studied her reflection in the photos. This woman bore no resemblance to the exhausted nurse who'd packed her scrubs 3 years ago. Her hair fell in lustrous waves past her shoulders. Her body curved beautifully beneath expensive maternity wear. Her eyes held power that couldn't be bought. Her phone had been silent for months. No contact from Carter, no attempts to reach out. He had no idea she was pregnant with his children, building a company that would soon compete with his, or living a life more luxurious than anything he'd ever provided. The wedding invitation arrived on expensive cardstock. Carter Manning and Alana Johnson request your presence. Simone held the invitation against her belly, feeling 3 strong kicks in response. "What do you think, babies?" she whispered. "Should we go congratulate Daddy on his new wife?" Marcus found her there, studying the invitation with a calculating smile. "You're not seriously considering going?" he said. "Oh, I'm not considering it," Simone replied, her hand tracing patterns on her belly. "I'm planning it." The day Simone gave birth to 3 perfect babies who looked exactly like Carter, she received a wedding invitation that made her smile for the first time in months. Comment Queen if you're inspired by her transformation. Wait until you see what she does with that wedding invitation. Holding 3 babies who carry your ex's DNA while building an empire worth more than his company isn't just success, it's systematic victory. The ultimate plot twist was growing inside her. Have you ever turned pain into power? These babies were about to change the game completely. What's more powerful than giving birth to your ex's legacy? The Miami private hospital suite felt more like a luxury hotel room than a delivery ward. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered ocean views, while Simone's labor progressed with Marcus holding her hand every step of the way. "One more push," Dr. Rodriguez encouraged. "I can see the first baby's head." Carter Jr. arrived at 3:47 p.m., his cries filling the room with pure joy. The nurses gasped at his thick dark hair and strong features, unmistakably his father's genes. "He's perfect," Marcus whispered, tears streaming down his face as he watched Simone hold their first son. Marcus Jr. and Matthew followed within minutes, 3 identical boys with Carter's jawline and Simone's determined spirit. The DNA was undeniable. Anyone who knew Carter would recognize these children immediately. 3 boys. Simone laughed through her exhaustion, counting tiny fingers and toes. Carter always wanted sons. Within hours, professional photographers captured every angle of the newborns. Each photo would serve as documentation of Carter's genetic legacy, evidence he'd never see coming. The babies thrived. Carter Jr. was calm and observant, already showing leadership qualities. Marcus Jr. had an infectious smile that charmed everyone. Matthew was the fighter, gripping fingers with surprising strength. "They're going to be heartbreakers," Marcus said, feeding Carter Jr. while Simone nursed the other 2. His devotion to children who weren't genetically his proved he was everything Carter had never been. 6 weeks postpartum, Simone's body had recovered beautifully. The pregnancy had left her curves fuller, her skin glowing with maternal radiance. Nursing the triplets gave her an hourglass figure that turned heads everywhere she went. Golden Goddess Skincare launched with a campaign featuring Simone's postpartum journey. Sales exceeded projections by 400%. The wellness empire was born alongside her sons. Marcus proposed on the hospital balcony during their last night before going home. The ring, his grandmother's family heirloom, sparkled with diamonds and history. "Simone Jackson, you've shown me what real love looks like," he said, kneeling beside her wheelchair as she held all 3 babies. "Will you marry me and let me be the father these boys deserve?" The proposal photos were stunning. Marcus on one knee, Simone radiant with their 3 sons, Miami's skyline glittering behind them. "Yes," she whispered, knowing Carter would see these photos eventually. Yes to everything. The DNA testing happened discreetly through a private lab. Legal documentation confirmed what everyone could see. Carter Manning was the biological father of 3 beautiful boys who would never know him as anything but a stranger. That night, as she fed the triplets in their nursery, Simone's phone buzzed with Carter and Alana's wedding announcement. The photos showed a lavish ceremony at the same vineyard where Carter had once promised Simone forever. "Boys," she whispered to her sons, "Daddy's getting married. Should we go congratulate him?" As Simone said yes to Marcus's proposal, she realized Carter's wedding wasn't just an event to attend. It was the perfect stage for her grand finale. Hit the like button if you think she should crash that wedding. Let me know what you'd do in her Louboutin heels. Planning your entrance to your ex's wedding isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming your narrative in front of everyone who thought you were disposable. The best comebacks are carefully choreographed. Have you ever wanted to show everyone who doubted you? This wasn't going to be a crash. It was going to be a coronation. How do you make an entrance that changes everything? The Aventura Mall's designer boutique felt like a temple to transformation. Simone stood before 3 full-length mirrors while the seamstress pinned her custom golden gown. The silk fabric hugged every postpartum curve perfectly, creating an hourglass silhouette that commanded worship. "This dress is a masterpiece," the designer breathed, adjusting the plunging neckline that showcased Simone's enhanced nursing figure. "You look like a goddess." Marcus watched from the velvet chair, his eyes dark with desire as the golden fabric caught the light. "Carter's going to faint when he sees you." The triplets sat in their stroller, already dressed in matching cream suits with tiny bow ties. Professional stylists had coordinated every detail. The boys looked like little princes attending a royal function. "Mama, pretty," Carter Jr. babbled, clapping his chubby hands. "That's right, baby," Simone smiled, practicing her graceful walk in Louboutin heels. "Mama's going to show everyone exactly what Daddy lost." The preparation consumed 3 days. Hair appointments at Miami's most exclusive salon left Simone's natural curls flowing in perfect waves past her shoulders. A makeup artist enhanced her natural glow with golden highlights that made her skin luminous. Professional photographers documented every step. These weren't just getting ready photos. They were evidence of a complete transformation. "The limousine is confirmed for Saturday," Marcus reported, reviewing their timeline. "Private jet to Atlanta leaves at 8 a.m. Arrival at the vineyard at 2 p.m. Simone studied the wedding invitation one final time. Carter and Alana had invited 200 guests to witness their fairy tale beginning. They had no idea they were about to witness Simone's resurrection instead. "Are you sure about this?" Marcus asked, zipping up her dress with gentle hands. His lips found her neck, sending shivers down her spine. "I've never been more sure of anything," she replied, turning in his arms. Their chemistry was electric. Nothing like the comfortable routine she'd shared with Carter. The speech was memorized perfectly. Not an objection, but an announcement that would shift every dynamic in that vineyard. She'd rehearsed in front of mirrors until every word carried maximum impact. Friday night, as they made love in their penthouse bedroom, Marcus worshipped every curve of her transformed body. His hands traced golden skin while she moved above him, powerful and confident in ways Carter had never inspired. "I love you," he whispered against her lips. "Whatever happens tomorrow, remember that." "I love you too," she replied, meaning it completely. "All of you." Saturday morning arrived with perfect weather. The triplets babbled excitedly in their car seats as the limousine pulled away from their Miami penthouse. 3 beautiful boys who looked exactly like their father, riding toward a confrontation that would change everyone's life. As the limousine pulled up to the vineyard, Simone looked at her 3 beautiful boys and whispered, "Daddy's about to meet his sons." Type iconic if you're ready for this entrance. The moment we've all been waiting for is next. When Simone stepped out of that limousine in her golden dress with 3 toddlers who looked identical to the groom, she didn't just stop the wedding. She stopped time itself. Have you ever made everyone's jaw drop? Every eye was on her, including Carter's. Could you handle this level of power? The Georgia vineyard fell silent, except for the soft click of Simone's heels on the stone pathway. Her custom golden gown hugged every curve, catching the afternoon sunlight like liquid metal. Behind her, 3 beautiful boys in matching navy suits stumbled on tiny legs, their faces mirror images of the man standing frozen at the altar. Carter's champagne glass slipped from his fingers, shattering against the ground. The sound echoed through the stunned crowd like a gunshot. Alana's bouquet trembled in her white-knuckled grip, her veil suddenly feeling more like a burial shroud than bridal lace. "Sweet Jesus," whispered Carter's mother from the front row, her eyes darting between the altar and the approaching woman who looked like a goddess risen from the dead. Every man at the wedding found himself mesmerized by Simone's confidence. Her body language commanded the space with the authority of someone who owned everything she touched. Even the groomsmen couldn't look away, their mouths hanging open like teenagers seeing their first centerfold. The middle triplet, little Carter Jr., broke free from his brothers and toddled straight toward the altar, his chubby finger pointing directly at the man in the tuxedo. The crowd held its breath. Simone glided down the aisle like she owned the vineyard, which honestly, she probably could have bought with her morning coffee money. Her smile was perfect. Not bitter, not angry, just radiantly confident. The kind of smile that made other women question their life choices. Marcus followed 3 steps behind, his hand resting protectively on the small of her back when she paused to greet guests. The power couple energy radiating from them was so intense, it made Carter and Alana look like children playing dress-up. "Is that really her?" someone whispered loudly enough for half the crowd to hear. "Look at those babies," another voice hissed. "They look exactly like." "Oh my God, she's gorgeous," a third guest interrupted, not even trying to keep quiet anymore. Simone chose a seat in the 3rd row, right where Carter would have to look at her every time he glanced at the congregation. She lifted each boy onto her lap with practiced ease, their tiny hands reaching for her golden jewelry. The minister cleared his throat nervously, unsure whether to continue or call security. Carter's best man whispered something urgent in his ear, but Carter couldn't hear anything over the blood rushing through his head. Alana's maid of honor, the replacement for the woman now sitting in the audience with 3 of the groom's children, looked like she wanted to crawl under the altar and disappear forever. "Mama Pretty," lisped the youngest triplet, loud enough for the entire front section to hear. His innocent words hit like a sledgehammer to Carter's chest. The wedding photographer kept snapping pictures, but his lens had shifted from the altar to the golden woman who'd just redefined what it meant to make an entrance. Every shot captured the exact moment Carter realized he'd thrown away a diamond for a piece of glass. As the minister asked if anyone objects, Simone stood up. But what she said next wasn't an objection. It was an announcement that would change everything. Comment below. Would you crash your ex's wedding or stay home? Let me know when we go back to where this all began. When someone stands up during this speak now or forever hold your peace moment, everyone expects an objection. What they don't expect is a congratulations announcement that destroys the groom. Have you ever flipped a script completely? Simone was about to redefine wedding etiquette. What announcement could stop a wedding without stopping it? Every head turned as Simone rose gracefully, her golden dress catching the light like armor. Marcus's proud smile confirmed this wasn't spontaneous. This was planned perfection. "Reverend Williams," she said, her voice carrying across the vineyard with the clarity of a trained professional. "I apologize for the interruption, but I couldn't let this beautiful moment pass without offering my congratulations to the happy couple." The crowd exhaled collectively, expecting drama, but receiving grace instead. "Carter," she continued, looking directly at her ex-husband while holding his son on her hip, "I want to personally thank you for showing me what I was truly worth. Without your guidance, I never would have discovered my own strength." Carter's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Alana's bouquet shook so violently that petals began falling to the ground like tears. "Ladies and gentlemen," Simone addressed the crowd with the confidence of someone announcing quarterly earnings to a board of directors. "I'd like you to meet Carter's sons, Carter Jr., Marcus, and David. Say hello to Daddy, boys." The triplets waved with the enthusiasm only toddlers possess, their gap-toothed grins identical to their father's baby pictures hanging in his mother's hallway. The congregation gasped so loudly it sounded like a wind tunnel. Someone's wine glass hit the ground. A bridesmaid actually grabbed the nearest groomsman's arm to keep from fainting. DNA tests are available upon request, Simone added with a smile that could have powered the entire state of Georgia. Along with IVF clinic records, of course. Carter's best man looked like he was calculating whether jumping into the nearby pond would be less painful than staying for the rest of this conversation. But today isn't about the past, Simone continued, bouncing baby David on her hip while he played with her gold necklace. Today is about celebrating new beginnings. Which brings me to my wonderful news. Marcus and I are engaged. She held up her left hand, revealing a diamond that made Alana's engagement ring look like something from a gumball machine. The emerald-cut stone caught the sunlight and threw rainbows across the white wedding chairs. The crowd's attention shifted completely from the altar to the woman in gold. Business cards appeared from nowhere as wealthy guests suddenly wanted to network with the woman who'd clearly mastered the art of the comeback. Our wedding will be in Monaco next spring, Simone announced casually, like she was discussing weekend plans instead of international destination weddings. These three gentlemen will serve as our ring bearers, naturally. Marcus stepped forward, placing a protective hand on Simone's waist. The gesture was subtle but unmistakable. This woman was claimed, cherished, and defended. We actually have a plane to catch, Simone said, checking her diamond watch. International business waits for no one, not even Georgia weddings. Carter finally found his voice. Simone, wait, But Simone wasn't finished. Her final words would ensure Carter never forgot this moment. Boys, wave goodbye to your biological father. We have a life to live in Monaco, and Daddy Marcus is waiting for us at the airport. Comment mic drop, if that was the perfect revenge. But wait, there's more. In a room full of wedding guests, the bride became invisible. Everyone wanted to meet the woman who turned abandonment into empire, betrayal into beauty, and heartbreak into happiness. Have you ever been the center of attention at someone else's event? The guests were choosing sides, and Simone was winning. What happens when the ex becomes more interesting than the bride? The wedding reception turned into the Simone show faster than Carter could say I do. Within minutes, a line formed at her table like she was signing autographs at a book convention. Business cards appeared from suit pockets and designer purses. Phone numbers were scribbled on napkins. Investment offers came between bites of wedding cake that nobody was eating anyway. Tell me about your wellness empire, demanded Mrs. Patterson, Atlanta's biggest real estate mogul, practically pushing other guests aside to get closer. I heard you're expanding internationally. The Miami operation is just the beginning, Simone replied, adjusting little Carter Jr. on her lap, while simultaneously networking like a Fortune 500 CEO. We're opening locations in Monaco, Dubai, and London by next year. Marcus fielded business inquiries with the skill of a man who'd spent years on corporate boards. His protective stance radiated power couple energy that made every other relationship in the room look amateur. Meanwhile, Alana stood at the head table like a forgotten centerpiece, her white dress suddenly looking more like a surrender flag than a wedding gown. The photographer had completely given up on bride and groom shots, focusing instead on the golden goddess holding court in the middle of the reception. Those boys are absolutely precious, gushed Judge Morrison's wife, her voice loud enough for Carter to hear from across the room. They look exactly like their father. Carter's attempts at damage control fell flatter than last week's champagne. Every time he approached a group of guests, they'd already heard about the DNA tests, the business empire, and the Monaco wedding plans. I can't believe he let her go, whispered one of his college friends, not caring that Carter was standing 3 feet away. Look at her now. She's a whole different level. The triplets charmed everyone within a 50-foot radius. Baby Marcus crawled under tables, making guests laugh as he played peekaboo with their ankles. David offered everyone bites of his cake with sticky fingers and a heart-melting smile. Carter Jr. kept pointing at his biological father and announcing Dada to anyone who would listen. Social media posts started appearing before the reception dinner was even served. Hashtag Monaco wedding began trending in Atlanta social circles. Hashtag glow-up posts featuring Simone's transformation flooded Instagram stories. The wedding band, confused by the shift in energy, started playing upbeat celebration music instead of the romantic playlist Alana had specifically requested. "Ma'am," a server approached Simone's table with an expensive bottle of champagne. "This is from the gentleman at table 12. He wanted to congratulate you on your business success." Table 12 contained Carter's biggest business rival, who raised his glass in a toast that everyone could see. As Carter approached Simone's table, desperate to salvage his reputation, she handed him an envelope that would make him understand exactly what he'd lost forever. What do you think was in that envelope? Drop your guesses while we find out together. The envelope contained 3 birth certificates, 3 DNA tests, and 1 legal document that proved Carter hadn't just lost a wife. He'd lost his entire genetic legacy. Have you ever held proof of someone's biggest mistake? Carter was about to understand the true cost of his betrayal. What's more valuable than money or love? Carter's hands trembled as he opened the cream-colored envelope with his name written in Simone's elegant handwriting. The first document made his knees buckle, a birth certificate for Carter James Wilson, Jr., born in Miami, Florida. Father, Carter James Wilson. Mother, Simone Jackson Wilson. The second and third certificates followed the same pattern. Marcus David Wilson. David Carter Wilson. All his children. All carrying his DNA. All living in another country with another man's love. 99.7% probability of paternity, Simone said quietly, watching his face crumble as he processed the DNA results. Conducted by 3 separate laboratories, just to be thorough. The legal document at the bottom of the stack hit him like a freight train. Voluntary termination of parental rights and responsibilities. Carter's signature from 3 years ago stared back at him. The day he'd signed away his frozen embryos as part of their divorce settlement. "You signed them over to me," Simone explained, her voice carrying the patience of someone explaining basic math to a kindergartner. "When you abandoned our marriage, you abandoned everything that came with it, including these 3 beautiful boys." Marcus stepped closer, his hand finding the small of Simone's back as other men continued approaching their table. The satisfied smile on Simone's face could have powered the entire wedding venue. "I was young," Carter whispered desperately. "I made mistakes. I didn't know. You didn't know I'd use our frozen embryos to build the family you threw away." Simone's laugh was music wrapped in ice. "You didn't know I'd become everything you claimed I could never be." Alana appeared at Carter's shoulder, her wedding makeup streaking down her cheeks as she realized the full scope of what was happening. The maid of honor who'd stolen a husband had just discovered he'd never been worth stealing. "How much do you want?" Carter asked, his voice cracking like a teenager's. "Child support, visitation rights, whatever it takes." "I already took everything I wanted," Simone interrupted, standing up with baby David in her arms. "You gave it to me the day you decided I wasn't good enough for your new lifestyle." The crowd around them had grown silent, everyone pretending not to eavesdrop on the most dramatic conversation in Georgia wedding history. "These boys have trust funds worth more than your company." Marcus spoke for the first time, his voice carrying the authority of old money and new power. "They have opportunities you could never provide. They have a father who chose them, not just a sperm donor who abandoned them." Carter whispered desperately. "What do you want from me?" Simone's response was colder than a Georgia winter. "I already took everything I wanted. You just gave it to me 3 years too late." Type savage if you think she handled that perfectly. The ending will shock you. True power isn't staying to watch your enemies suffer. It's walking away so completely that they spend the rest of their life wondering what they lost. Have you ever walked away from someone who didn't deserve you? Simone was about to disappear into a life Carter could never reach. What's better than revenge? Living well. Simone gathered her boys with the efficiency of a woman who'd mastered single motherhood while building an international empire. Little hands reached for her golden jewelry as she prepared to leave the reception that had become her coronation ceremony. "Gentlemen," she addressed the crowd that had formed around her table, "it's been absolutely lovely meeting you all. My assistant will be in touch regarding the investment opportunities we discussed." Business cards disappeared into her designer clutch faster than $20 bills at a strip club. Phone numbers were programmed into her phone with the speed of someone accustomed to networking at this level. Marcus helped her into her wrap, his hands lingering on her shoulders in a gesture that radiated ownership and protection. Their chemistry crackled like electricity before a thunderstorm, the kind of connection that made other people feel lonely just watching it. "The jet is waiting," he murmured against her ear, loud enough for nearby guests to overhear. "Monaco Customs cleared our arrival this morning." The triplets waved goodbye to everyone like tiny celebrities leaving a red carpet event. Baby Marcus blew kisses that made the older ladies clutch their pearls and smile. David offered his half-eaten cookie to Judge Morrison's wife. Carter Jr. kept pointing at his biological father and waving, oblivious to the devastation he was leaving behind. "Will we see you back in Atlanta?" asked Mrs. Patterson, clearly hoping to maintain this new social connection. "We keep a residence here," Simone replied diplomatically, "but Monaco is home now. The boys are already enrolled in the best international schools. They speak 3 languages fluently." The limousine appeared as if summoned by magic, its black exterior gleaming like a promise of escape. The driver held the door open while Marcus loaded the triplets into their custom car seats. Seats that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Carter pushed through the crowd desperately, his wedding tuxedo wrinkled from stress, sweat, and defeat. "Simone, please. Can we talk? 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes." She paused at the limousine door, turning to face him one final time. The Georgia sunset caught her golden dress, making her look like an angel preparing for flight, or a goddess tired of dealing with mortals. "Carter," she said, her voice carrying the finality of a judge reading a verdict, "you had 10 years to talk to me. You chose silence. You had our entire marriage to value me. You chose another woman. You had the chance to build this empire with me. You chose to tear me down instead." Her smile was radiant and cold simultaneously. "I don't give second chances to people who never deserve the first one." As the limousine pulled away, Carter ran after it desperately. But Simone never looked back. She was already planning her wedding in Monaco, surrounded by people who knew her worth. Hit subscribe if you believe in walking away with your head held high. The conclusion will inspire you. 6 months later, the Monaco Society pages featured the wedding of the year. Wellness Empire founder Simone Jackson married tech investor Marcus Reed, with their 3 sons as ring bearers. Have you ever found love after betrayal? This wasn't just a wedding. It was a complete life transformation. What does true happiness look like? The Cathedral of Our Lady Immaculate in Monaco had never hosted a more stunning ceremony. Simone floated down the aisle in custom Valentino, her dress a masterpiece of ivory silk and diamond embroidery that caught the Mediterranean sunlight streaming through stained glass windows. 3 little boys in matching tuxedos walked ahead of her, scattering rose petals with the serious concentration of tiny gentlemen. Carter Jr. carried the rings on a velvet pillow. Marcus and David held hands, their gap-toothed grins melting hearts throughout the international congregation. "Mama beautiful," David announced loudly enough for the Archbishop to smile, his innocent words echoing through the cathedral like a prayer answered. The guest list read like a who's who of European society and American business royalty. Monaco's Prince Albert sent personal congratulations. Tech billionaires flew in from Silicon Valley. Fashion designers competed to dress the wedding party. Marcus waited at the altar in a custom Tom Ford tuxedo, his eyes never leaving his bride's face as she approached. The love radiating between them was so intense, it made the cathedral feel like the center of the universe. "You are absolutely radiant," he whispered as she reached him, his voice carrying the wonder of a man who still couldn't believe his fortune. Their vows brought tears to eyes that hadn't cried at weddings in decades. Simone promised to build empires together. Marcus vowed to love her children as completely as he loved her. The triplets clapped at inappropriate moments, making everyone laugh instead of shush them. The reception took place at the Hotel Hermitage, overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbows across tables laden with flowers flown in from 3 continents. The wedding cake was a seven-tier masterpiece that probably cost more than most people's cars. International media covered every detail. Vogue featured exclusive photos. Forbes ran a story about power couples reshaping global business. The wellness empire's stock prices hit record highs on the wedding day alone. During their first dance, cameras captured Marcus whispering something that made Simone throw back her head and laugh with pure joy. The sound carried across the terrace, infectious and beautiful. The triplets danced with dignified elderly women who spoiled them with chocolate and stories. They spoke to guests in English, French, and Italian, their little voices charming everyone within earshot. Later, as fireworks exploded over Monaco harbor, Simone and Marcus retreated to their honeymoon suite overlooking the Mediterranean. Their wedding night unfolded with the passion of two people who'd found not just love, but partnership, purpose, and peace. "I can't believe this is real," Simone whispered against his chest as waves crashed against the rocks below. "Neither can I," Marcus replied, his hands tracing the curves that had captivated him from their first meeting. "But we built this together. We deserve this happiness." But this story isn't over. As Simone danced with her new husband, she didn't know that Carter had made a decision that would bring their paths together one final time. Comment happiness if you're happy for her new beginning. But Carter has one more surprise. True victory isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about building something so beautiful that they destroy themselves, trying to get back what they never deserved. Have you ever succeeded beyond your ex's wildest dreams? Simone built something Carter could never touch. What's the best revenge story you've ever heard? 5 years after the Monaco wedding, Simone Reed stood on the stage at the Global Business Summit in New York, accepting the International Entrepreneur of the Year award. Her wellness empire now operated in 27 countries. Her foundation had provided clean water to over 2 million people worldwide. The triplets, now 8 years old, watched from the front row in matching navy suits, their proud grins identical to their mothers. Marcus beamed from his seat, his wedding ring catching the spotlight as he applauded his wife's latest achievement. Success, Simone told the audience of 5,000 business leaders, isn't about proving anyone wrong. It's about building something so right that failure becomes impossible. Standing ovation, camera flashes, international media coverage. In the VIP section, Carter Wilson sat alone, his discount suit wrinkled from the flight he could barely afford. His company had folded 3 years earlier. Alana had left him for a younger man with better prospects. His mother barely spoke to him after learning about the grandchildren he'd abandoned. He'd spent 5 years trying to rebuild his reputation, his finances, his life. Every potential investor eventually asked about the woman who'd built an empire with his frozen embryos. Every business meeting ended with someone mentioning Simone Reed's incredible success story. During the cocktail reception, Carter approached the woman who'd once shared his bed, his dreams, his genetic material. She stood surrounded by billionaires and world leaders, her laughter musical and confident. "Simone," he said quietly, his voice barely audible over the celebration around them. She turned, her smile polite but distant. The recognition was there, but it carried no warmth, no anger, no emotion at all. He'd become a footnote in her success story. "Carter," she replied with the courtesy she'd show any stranger. How unexpected. The triplets appeared at her side like tiny bodyguards. They'd grown tall and confident, their private school uniforms replaced by designer casual, where that probably cost more than Carter's monthly rent. "Mom, the Prince of Dubai wants to discuss the water project," Carter Jr. announced in perfect English, his vocabulary more sophisticated than most adults. "And the lady from Japan brought us gifts," added Marcus, switching to flawless French for no reason except to show off. "Mama, can we go see the penguins at the aquarium tomorrow?" David asked in Italian, making nearby guests smile at his charm. Carter stared at his biological sons. Brilliant, multilingual, confident children who looked through him like he was invisible. They called Marcus Papa and treated him with the respect reserved for someone who'd earned the title through presence, not genetics. "Boys," Simone said gently, I'd like you to meet Carter Wilson. He knew your mother a long time ago. Not their father, not someone important, just someone who knew their mother once upon a time. The boys shook his hand politely, the way children greet their parents' business associates, respectful but uninterested. Then they disappeared back into the crowd of international dignitaries who competed to spoil them. When Carter looked back at Simone, she was already walking away, her arm linked with Marcus's as they moved toward their next networking opportunity. He'd lost everything trying to get back what he'd thrown away. She'd built everything by letting go of what had never deserved her in the first place. If this story of transformation inspired you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like, comment with your biggest takeaway, and subscribe for more stories of people who turned their pain into power. What would you do if you were in Simone's shoes? Let me know in the comments. The best response gets featured in our next video.